I know, but on the occasion that you go outside, you're going to stab somebody.
Podcast that is fully ready to accept a $400 million gift from a foreign government. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
Yeah.
That's how Lori is. Tonight is Monday, May 12th, 2025. A stormy and rainy day here in Charlottesville, which is why we are
No baseball.
recording tonight. No baseball after all. It was on the schedule. We got baseball. I'm going to be down at the field every night this week. But not tonight because the rain has come. It has come very bigly, as they say. It's going to continue coming very bigly all week long. Very bad timing for us as a league. Only a couple of 3 weeks or so left in the regular season, and we're going to have like a full washout this week. It's bad news.
Has that happened in previous years? Like a week where just
We've been
bad weather?
Very lucky this year to not have rainouts, generally speaking, like as a league. We've had them spottily here and there. Last year we had multiple weeks where we lost 2, 3, 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
And had to scramble to get games in. We've been lucky. Up until today, we had whatever games that we have had postponed, we have made up. So we were fully caught up as a league in both majors and minors divisions with all of our games. So that's the good news. The good news is there's no backlog, at least at this point. My idiot son probably broke a fucking pinky, though.
The doctor says it's probably not broken.
All right.
The pinky's a useless one, right? I mean, you can go without it.
He was fielding a grounder, and I was reminded, Lori asked, well, who hit the grounder when...
I was ready to kill whoever was ending my son's Little League career.
It was me. I hit the grounder.
Oh,
still ready.
during practice, trying to toughen him up. Hitting the ball at him too hard, apparently. That's just one of those things.
You take responsibility for the injury?
No, it's not my fault. His dumbass needs to know how to field a grounder. I'm sure. There's no way it wasn't his fault in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's just bad luck. Took a slightly weird hop, hit him in the glove.
I bet if he'd engaged his hand muscles more, it wouldn't have happened.
In a slightly weird spot, and then bent the pinky in an unfortunate direction. And
there are many basketball players that'll show you their mangled fingers. I think receivers in football also. Yep. Is there something similar with baseball? Not necessarily fingers, but
catchers have really gnarly hands, in particular.
Yeah.
Receiving 120 or 130 pitches a night, that'll fuck you up probably. But yeah, injured yesterday, and I was looking at his hand when he came home from school today, and he wasn't experiencing a great deal of pain, and so we didn't think okay, maybe you just hurt it. It's no big deal. It was much more swollen today than it was yesterday. It's that's not good. It shouldn't be swelling more 24 hours later.
Isn't that just the body healing, or is that a good sign? I guess it's never good when it's gets worse.
Swelling is bad.
Yeah, swelling is bad, right? The doctor said you could go get it x-rayed, and they might tell you that it's more broken than I think it is, but for now, let's just try to keep it immobilized, straight, either tape it to the finger next to it or stick a splint on it, right. And don't let him play again until it looks better and feels better. So it's not, if it had been...
She did also sort of say, she didn't say it, but she was implying that, if this were a more important baseball game...
Okay. Yeah.
She was very, could get an x-rayed if you want. Here's the form if you want it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it could have been because this is the right time frame, because he broke his pinky a few years ago playing soccer, And this is like,
Same finger.
if it were 4 to 6, yeah, same stupid left pinky finger. My suspicion is that this is he's got some sort of degenerative, pre-existing genetic issue, probably from his mother's side of the family in terms of the weak left pinky. Because it's not getting a weak left pinky from me.
Is that how it happens?
Strong lefty.
You get your pinky from your mother?
Probably, yeah.
No,
You certainly get all the weakness from your mother. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
That's right.
One day later. This could have been a disastrous time. Like we have just a couple weeks left in the Little League season, and then All-Star season starts. Like
That's it.
recovery timeline could have been
4 to 6.
First week of July or something. We
Right.
could be done with his Little League career at that point. That would have sucked. Anyway, he'll be all right. Mother's Day was yesterday. We were discussing my very antisocial feelings
Yes.
about certain
And
aspects
you should leave them.
of the
Yeah.
Mother's Day holiday before the show started. No one will be hearing that. That was for Abe and Lori's ears only. But we didn't celebrate much around here. I went so far
Don't
as
do
to,
it.
like, usually I bake a key lime pie.
I
for
was
Lori.
really hoping he wouldn't, because we've been eating absolute trash garbage every day.
Not
my
every day.
We've been eating garbage every day.
During baseball season, especially now with our expanded
We're there every
responsibilities down there,
day.
we're there all the time. It is hard for me to get a healthy dinner together because I've got to leave the house at like 4 o'clock.
What do you have to do before 4 o'clock?
Lots of things. All right, lady, calm down. But there's a lot of stuff going on around here, and it's hard for me to get a healthy dinner together.
It's hard. I'm not complaining. I'm saying is we have been eating garbage. And I was like, I bet Bob won't have time to make key lime pie, which is great because I don't want it. And he fucking comes home with one from the store that isn't even good.
Usually I make a really fucking spectacular
So
key lime
good.
pie every year. I didn't have time for that this year, and instead just picked up a frozen one, the old Marie Callender's from the freezer aisle there at the Wegmans. It's fine. It's nothing special, but it was a fine key lime pie. Yeah, that was the extent of our Mother's Day celebrations.
McGriddle.
That's true. On Sunday morning, I went up and went to McDonald's and picked
We also got Hot Pockets.
Lori up a McGriddle. The Hot Pockets are not related
Oh my God.
to Mother's Day.
Why did we have that? What? Oh my God, they're so good.
Hot Pockets were on clearance at the freezer aisle next to the key lime pie that I was buying. And look, if they're selling you Hot Pockets for like $1.33 a box,
Yeah.
That's 90s prices.
don't you have to fucking buy them?
Yes.
You almost have to, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even like Hot Pockets that much.
Oh, they're all for me then.
But there they are, $1.33 a box. It's like, man, what a strange novelty. I'm going
I
to buy
would
Hot
love to
Pockets.
say that I can bring them to work for lunch, but I can't eat a Hot Pocket in front of people. Like, they won't want to talk to me.
Yeah, I encountered somebody, a family from my Little League, as I was at the Wegmans filling my cart with like 5 or 6 different Hot Pockets cartons. And I was like, look here. I would never. It's not my style.
That's not it. I just mean how I will be acting when I am eating the Hot Pocket is not for like public consumption.
It's the way that like when Calvin is eating something particularly good, he
I will be moaning.
like it's very Homer eating a donut whenever he's eating something particular. It's like, dude, I can't even eat in the same room with you. I don't want to listen to that. It's disgusting. But I always run baseball practices on Mother's Day, even though it's Mother's Day. It's like, what? Come on, coach. Don't be an asshole. Why do you have baseball practice on Mother's Day? And the answer is because some moms are like, you know what would be great on Mother's Day is if my kids were out of the house for a couple of fucking hours. Anyway, I received some shit for running baseball practices on Mother's Day. They're optional. I tell the families, look, if you have something better to do, by all means, don't let my optional baseball practice interfere with family plans. But if you're trying to get rid of the kids for a couple of hours, drop them off at the ballpark. It'll be fine.
Is this with the same reservation be expressed if it was Columbus Day? Like, is it something about Mother's Day that?
I don't know.
Columbus Day.
I also get
That's
shit.
school day.
I also get
No,
shit
no, but
for,
I'm saying like if it were like a holiday on par with Columbus, like, is it?
I also have practice on Easter Sunday. It must be said, whenever, because the other the other coaches aren't down there practicing on Easter Sunday, which means the fields are free, which means bonus practice for the good team. The team that could use some extra work, certainly. So I take advantage of that as well, which is frowned upon in some circles.
There is no sacred holiday for you, is there, Bob?
I mean, I don't think I would practice on Christmas.
There you go.
No.
Christmas, yeah.
Or Thanksgiving.
Just because it's like way too fucking cold. Like if it wasn't super cold on on Christmas and we were in the middle of baseball season somehow because of global warming or something, I might say, look, optional batting practice. I'll be down there for a couple hours after presents, before the big fancy Christmas dinner.
Oh, I see. There's like a window there instead of watching like
like
the
Lori
NFL.
said about the Mother's Day thing. As it was 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. was going to be my practice availability.
It was my suggestion.
Post brunch, pre dinner.
Right.
Like if you've got family stuff going on, by all means, do it. But whatever.
That seems sensible.
I made cake pops all day.
That was Lori's special day, cake pop making day. Abe, you have been traveling.
Yes, 1,500 miles this weekend. I went up to Pittsburgh. I made a pit stop in Columbus, Ohio, just for the night.
A
Pit stop, huh?
Eh?
Yeah. And this is not what Columbus is known for. I'm sure they have a school there, the university, or the Ohio State University. But I noticed that they have a lot of sports bars, like in succession. I remember I was like, there's some basketball game on. I was like, I'll just go there, grab food, and just kind of watch the game and go to sleep. And there was like...
Not in the sports bar, I hope.
No. I would eventually go back home. But there were literally like 30 sports bars, like back to back to back, and some of them have the wall-to-wall sports kind of like thing, like a Taco Mac or equivalent or, place like that. And other places are like more old school. This used to be like a regular pub that's been turned into a sports bar. They just had all different types. It was just the one thing I noticed about the city because I wasn't there very long. And the next day
Columbus is a bigger city than I would have guessed. There's almost 1 million people in Columbus, according to Google.
It's not capital. Like Athens, where like Athens, like the school overwhelms the city, where it's just like it's Georgia, like UGA. Like Columbus, it seems to be like its own city, and it also has
like
a school.
Austin.
Yeah, I guess Austin is a good comparison.
Except awful.
Yeah, well, I mean, Austin seems like it was nice.
How was the city, or at least your limited exposure to it there in Columbus?
It was nice. It looked like a regular city. It wasn't like a small, like random town. It felt like it had a skyline. I was surprised by that. I don't know what I had in mind when I was thinking of Columbus, but I did not think, this is like a proper city that,
right. And then on to
school.
Pittsburgh. How was that?
Going to Pittsburgh, so I've never been to Pittsburgh before, but and this happened like on multiple occasions, like going there and coming back. But there are certain tunnels that you have to get to someplace, and I went in a tunnel. I did not see the Pittsburgh skyline until I went into a tunnel, and then like suddenly Pittsburgh just emerges on the other side. It's like a very
it's in the mountains.
Yeah.
So it was blocked by a mountain until you went through the mountain.
Right. My GPS is like, you're like, 3 miles from your hotel, which is like in downtown. I was like, I don't see the city. Like, what are you talking about? And then here comes this tunnel. And out of this tunnel, it's like and it was like a nice weather weekend for the most part. It was a little chilly on the first night, but just picturesque, a very Pittsburgh view as soon as you enter. I was like, wow, this is a nice little city they got. People... overwhelmingly friendly, like too friendly. Like I went for a run on Saturday, and this guy's like stopped me to tell me, like, you're doing a great job, keep it up. Like as soon as I get there on the first night at the hotel, the parking guy was.
What were you doing?
Were you juggling?
I literally just started running. I was running on the.
You went for a jog.
Yes.
And someone stopped you to say you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Yes. I was like, are you fucking with me? I was like, thanks, I guess. Like, what? All right. Like, it was very weird. And everybody was like that. Like, there was, like, everybody was just like.
Was he wearing like an "I'm not a racist" T-shirt or something? Like, what was his angle here? I don't get it.
I did not stick around for it. I was like, all right, thanks, guy, and just continued. what I think is happening, because this has happened a lot of times, and I would tell people like bartenders or like the Uber driver, like, what a fucking city you guys have. This is amazing. And like, at least a couple of them have said like, yeah, it's great, but like you just came at the right time because like it's like
'cause the weather was nice.
something degree weather. I mean, like perfect weather.
That happened to us in Seattle.
Oh,
Or
that's
like
true.
it wasn't
We
raining.
went to Seattle during the first week that it wasn't raining in 9 months.
Yeah.
And everybody was in a fantastic mood. And Emily was like, this isn't fair. Everyone here is an asshole, and you guys aren't seeing that because everybody's happy because it's sunny. But these people aren't like this. They're assholes.
Yeah, don't be deceived. But yeah, I'm thinking like now that I think of it, like when I went to Montreal a couple of years ago, it was also like in perfect weather, and the waiters have said something similar, like, "Oh, you came at the right like 2-month stretch. This place is like way too cold and shitting on their own city." You would think
Yeah.
we'd take the compliment, but they're like, "Nah, this is not the real day-to-day life." It almost feels like I'm like a fair weather tourist because I'll only schedule to go. I'm not scheduling to go to Pittsburgh in November, right? Like
No, don't do that.
Second weekend of May, that's a pretty reliable time frame. And so I go to
Although
some...
on the other hand, like going to Chicago in the dead of winter might be fun, just as a just to kind of check it out, right? See if the reputation holds.
Right, I guess that's true. I did have the thought when the weather was extremely nice waiting for the Braves, because the Braves were in town, so I went to go see them on that Saturday. And just they kind of closed up the whole section just so there's a lot of foot traffic. And everybody just like in a great mood again because of the weather. And I was thinking they probably don't keep track of murder rates based on the weather, but 70 through 79 degrees has to be the lowest murder range because it's kind of hard to want to kill somebody.
I
can't
know.
imagine
That
that
well.
there's a significant difference between
there's gotta
the
be.
55 degree
Impossible.
murder rate and
Oh,
the 75 degree
No,
murder
what
rate.
the murder rate spikes in summer,
Right.
almost
Yeah, when
everywhere.
it gets hot. Yeah, hot, irritable. I
Too
can see some
fucking hot.
stabbings. Cold.
Well, and in the
also
winter,
irritable.
you're inside. Who are you murdering?
I know, but on the occasion that you go outside,
I
you're
mean,
going to
you're
stab
murdering
somebody.
your domestic partner in the winter. What are you
But
talking about?
you do that any time of year. That's
No,
the same.
specifically in the winter when you're stuck inside and can't get out.
Yeah, if there's some statistician at the FBI listening to this, look it up. Filter by 70 to 70. What was the weather when the murder happened? I bet you no one's killing anybody when it's that nice.
How was the stadium there in Pittsburgh?
The stadium was great. This could be just my experience in Atlanta, but everything has an added cost. Like if you use your phone to buy a ticket, there's all these bullshit fees that are tacked on. Like, service fee, convenience fee, fuck you fee, whatever. Like a $60 ticket becomes $100 easily, right? And even if you go to the box office, I've been to like music venues where you're thinking if you go to the box office,
Right.
It'll
Get
just
a
be-
break on this stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it'll just be the face value of the ticket, maybe tax, and that's it. But they also tack on these fees for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. Pittsburgh was
venue fee, box office fee,
Yeah,
fuck you fee. Yeah.
right, just all kinds of fees, and it doesn't even matter what they define it as. Pittsburgh was amazing in this way. Everything was what it was. Like even like the beers, like this $7 beer, you owe now $7. Like there's nothing added to it. Thankfully, they have a dreadful baseball team, so you could get really good seats for like under $100, like right by the action.
Did you choose to do that?
I got I was basically like 20 rows up, but very good seats, and it was like $71, and that's all. There was nothing added. They
Right.
just tell you like, hey, pick a seat. What do you want? It was almost like going to see a movie. Like it was like I want to sit here.
Did you do that? You walked up to the box office and
Yeah.
bought a ticket?
Yeah, I just walked up.
Oh man, that is
It's Americana.
it is. That's throwback stuff. That's very cool.
I mean,
One ticket, please.
Yeah, so basically, it's literally you just walk up, and again, it only works if the team is not particularly good. There was no risk of a sellout. As great of a day as it was a good, nice turnout by Brave fans. But yeah, you just walk up. I almost reflexively opened my phone to the Ticketmaster app. I'm like, what am I doing? The box office is right there. I just walked up, and they were like, yeah, get whatever you want. Just a great experience.
You probably could have gone even cheaper if you'd pulled up StubHub or something, right?
Maybe, yeah. Where they have the PNC Park and where the Steelers play, which is not far from there, just perfect setting. Like they have it by the water, by the river they got there. just a perfectly set up city for good weather. Again, I can't speak to.
Is the area around there similar to the Battery? There's a bunch of like shops or is it more residential? Is it more commercial?
It's more
What's
like
going on
your
down
typical. So yeah, it's not like there isn't like a section like the Battery where there's all these different things. But like 2 blocks removed, there's a whole row of bars. One of them. Actually, one thing I will say is the doorman or the parking guy was also very friendly, like just telling me all of these things. Like, and he was telling me like, be mindful of these sketchy areas, you know. And I went to, look at these sketchy areas, and it wasn't sketchy at all. I don't know what he was talking about.
You did not be mindful.
Look,
Yeah.
my good man, I live next to Murder Kroger.
That's right. It's like,
In
what are we
Atlanta.
talking about? So I go there and check it, and he was like, and he also recommended I go to, and I did not know, Jason Aldean, the country bumpkin guy, has a bar restaurant like a block from.
I think he's got one in Vegas
he has one
too,
in Vegas.
right?
Yeah, but he was like, go there. Like, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not a Aldean fan, but I'll give it a go. That place was just too many people. It was like one of these like country bumpkin cowboy gimmicks, but the people loved it. It did not take Pittsburgh to be into that, but they were really.
So you're
into
in the Midwest when you're in Pittsburgh.
Rednecks everywhere.
more or less. Yeah, yeah, I know, but just you think of Pittsburgh as more like I don't know. I didn't think that, but.
You're in the Midwest when you're in Pittsburgh.
They have a whole stretch of things. And also, the other reason why, on the way back, by the way, the city's great. I would recommend it. I also went to go see some blues music person, just a random person.
Oh, yeah? How did you locate? Did you just look up like blues bar near me or something on Google?
There's an app that I use in Atlanta. It's called Bands in Town. And basically, it'll tell you who's in town tonight, this weekend, this month, next month, whatever you want, right? And so I was like, okay, let me pull that up. And then they're like, go to this place, and you pay whatever, $25. You just go in there and you listen. And it was pretty good, pretty entertaining. Again, I forget the name of the musician, but it was pretty good.
Oh, good.
On the way back, I had a chance to drive through a good chunk of West Virginia, because on the way up, I went, through Ohio. But on the way back, the fastest route was through West Virginia. I was like, oh, this is great. A beautiful state. I did not have occasion to stop for gas or anything. I just kind of drove through the state.
You don't want to get out of the car in West Virginia, so that's good.
But what I realized...
what interstate down... Was it 81? What were you...
70-something. I forget what it was. 77 or 70... I don't know. Something. There were a lot of 70-something. There was a 71, a 77. It all blends together. But... Just the way it looks was very great. Just a very enjoyable, scenic.
Well, you got the mountains there. You've got
it's
not
gorgeous.
a whole lot of people, just a lot of forest.
Also, it also makes sense now why Pittsburgh and West Virginia are like a rivalry kind of thing. They're like 60 miles
Backyard
apart.
brawl.
It's like literally just down the street. And
77, 75, 79.
Yes, yeah, a lot of those. I just followed the GPS.
How many Buc-ee's on the way home?
Buc-ee's on the way up, but no Buc-ee's on the way back.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I hit anything that had.
He was in West Virginia. There's nothing there.
Honestly, other than like Morgantown, and even that was like just I don't know. There's nothing. I mean, just other than just the natural beauty, there really isn't anything happening.
Yeah.
Wild and wonderful.
Nothing to report from the Buc-ee's on the way up? No.
No, I just I've grown accustomed to the Buc-ee's. I haven't seen anything.
You're fucking jaded on the Buc-ee's
unusual.
now. What a bummer.
One interesting thing is this is I think the second time that it's happened while away from Atlanta where I live. Apparently, people in Atlanta and southern Tennessee felt a little earthquake. There was an earthquake Saturday morning.
Read about that.
Because on my family group chat and my friends group chat, there was a lot of, did you feel that? What? Like, what happened? And then apparently there was like, I think a 4.1 magnitude.
Oh, wow. Look at you putting Virginia to shame with our 3.0 last week.
But I don't think there's been an earthquake that Atlanta has felt in my memory, but maybe this is the first. But I remember there was like a tornado that kind of came through town like back in the day, and I think I was in Savannah. Then I missed two like events. I wouldn't mind feeling a little earthquake.
What are you trying to say? You're trying to say you're not causing them?
I'm definitely not causing them. I wasn't even aware of them. I was told that it happened. I'm just taking their word for it. But I would like to experience a low-grade earthquake, not like a big one.
You're just begging for disaster, aren't you?
Oh, please, what are the chances we're going to get another one?
Fucking 15 minutes later, we see eight stories of Abe's apartment complex come down on top of his head.
What would be the title
Abe's
of that
totally
episode?
fine,
Abe's final episode? Or, you know.
Well,
yeah.
good. How was the company on the trip?
The company.
Yeah, you. Yeah, it was a solo
great.
trip, right?
Halfway through my drive back home on Sunday, a day ago, I was like, America could be bigger. Like, I could do this for like a million hours. Like, I caught like a nice groove of just driving and listening to like old episodes of This American Life. And I could literally just drive forever. I did not get tired. It was like a 11-hour drive. It felt like 2 minutes. It was just a very... I could do that forever.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And you went pretty far, and you say you could do it forever, but the country is so much bigger than Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because I'm
So
just still
big.
sticking to this side. I'm thinking, like I was initially planning on driving west to that Grand Canyon place, but I'm gonna likely do that next year. Initially, I was thinking sometime this year, but like that's like a 40-hour thing that you have to kind of chop up. So like I was thinking, if I could do that west, why not go to New England whenever the weather is nice, so I can tell people like, oh, this Maine is not too shabby, and they're like, oh, fuck you, guy, it's like this for 6 weeks and then it gets cold.
The problem with Maine in the summer is that people know about it.
Oh, okay.
Like a chunk of my clients go to Maine for the summer because they have a house there.
Oh, nice.
And you just have to plan it probably farther out than you would for these other places because there's not a lot of cities there.
Yeah.
So things get booked up really quickly if you want to go in summer.
If my lifetime of reading Stephen King novels is any indication, you'll encounter a lot of people who are mad about the summer people always coming here and trying to do stuff here, man. That's my main accent for you.
That wasn't pleasant.
All right. Well, sounds like a pretty good trip. I always like to hear about Abe's adventures out there in real America.
With the humans.
No unpleasant encounters to report with any of our fellow human beings. Everybody was.
No, everybody was, again, I credit the weather, but everybody was very, very nice.
Well, that's good.
And friendly, yeah.
Glad to see you safe home again where you belong there in that
That's right.
utterly anonymous room of yours there. All right. We should briefly talk about the news. At least, I don't know. I watched the Sunday shows this weekend, and
He went and pooped.
What? Well,
You made me watch the Sunday shows.
look, at about
left.
11:30, the coffee has kicked in. I've watched 90% of the Sunday shows that I'm going to watch. There's usually in the third or fourth segment of Face the Nation, there's usually an interview that's like, oh, we're really doing an interview here? Like with this person? Who fucking cares? Give me a panel or something. Give me some take-havers on the show to have something to say. We don't need to interview like the head of the Chicago Fed or whatever the fuck. Like, bring somebody else on. Or like the some second-rate ambassador. Like, no, we don't. What are we doing?
Are they like just in town and they're like, some producer at CBS Mornings are like, let's put him in.
No, put some opinionated dumbasses on there so I can get mad at them on the television. Anyway, that's the time to go take a dump. Coffee's done its work. I've made my way through most of whatever I'm going to read in the New York Times, and CBS has put a stupid interview up that I don't care about. And just leave it run. Don't even have to pause it. Just leave it running.
You could just turn it off.
Yeah.
Anything of note? I've missed everything this weekend. Like, I did not catch anything other than 60 Minutes.
I mean, there was this stuff about like Newark keeps having these problems with their air traffic control system because it's all out of date, and so they talked to the. I think this dude's name is Scott. I think we got another Scott involved here somewhere.
It was really funny, actually.
The head of the he took over from Buttigieg about the
National Transportation Board. Okay.
And then the ABC one was almost exclusively, if not entirely, about the new Pope. ABC was just, it's fucking Pope time on This Week with Raditz was hosting. And speaking of, I wanted to go briefly to the Vatican to what has been going on since the American Pope took over. Very big news on whatever day that was, Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. When did that happen?
I think it was Thursday.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I was
It was
sitting in
Thursday.
traffic. It was like I don't complain about Charlottesville traffic very much because compared to like Atlanta traffic,
Yeah.
or even compared to like Athens traffic could be fucking infuriating just to get from the east side to the west side. Like, and
Right.
occasionally you would just find yourself trying to go essentially just down Broad Street from one side of town to the other, and it would take you fucking 40 minutes. It's like, what are we doing here, people? But like Charlottesville traffic, people who complain about it, I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, this is not a thing. But I had to go to Sam's Club, which, as I've said on the show before,
In another place.
it's fucking 30 minutes basically from my house to get over there. And this time, it took me an hour from the time that I left my
Wow.
house to get to the Sam's Club, which is, as the crow flies, fucking 10 minutes away. Like, it just very, very frustrating.
Was there some sort of event taking place?
There was a big wreck on the stretch of road that I was trying to go down, and it snarled everything just because of just poor timing, essentially, by me. But I was listening to NPR's coverage of the announcement that there's going to be a new pope, because as I was walking out the door, the white smoke came out from the chimney. And I was like, oh, ooh, new pope time, new pope. And so I turned on NPR. I was listening to them breathlessly report on an empty balcony, like, because everybody gathers and then just stares at this balcony waiting for the fancily dressed individuals to come out and announce the new pope. And I'm listening to it. I'm sitting there in the car listening to it. So there's a person talking. It's in fucking Italian or Latin or some combination of Italian and Latin, right? Because they're both announcing his name and also his like fucking papal title and all this other bullshit.
Right.
But it's also on this delay because there's a media feed, but then there's also the sound of the speakers in, what do they call it? The Vatican Square. I forget what they fucking call it there, but like where everyone is gathered, right? And so we're getting the feedback. We're hearing it once, and then we hear it again immediately, and it's in some other language, and then we hear it again as Silvia Pacioli, the NPR Rome correspondent, is trying to translate it for us as it's happening. And so it's like, it's very confusing, but I'm hearing Roberto Francisco, da 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 da. I'm like, wait, Bobby Francis? Like Bob Francis sure doesn't sound like one of those names that I've heard before. And it sounds very American if we're going to, like, Bobby Francis Prevost sounds like, and whoever was on the NPR broadcast is like, wait a second, Roberto Francis, American Pope? There's going to be an American
And
Pope.
then the song started playing, right?
Which song?
We're an American band.
No, not that one.
No? God damn, why?
But anyway, I was weirdly excited as a recovering Catholic to find out that we're going to have an American Pope. But anyway, real quick, before we discuss it any further, I wanted to go live to the Vatican now just to check in on how things are going there.
I'm an American badass. Watch me kick. You can roll with rock or you can suck my dick. I'm a porno flick. I'm like Amazing Grace. I'm gonna fuck
perfect.
some hoes after I rock this place. Super fly, living double wide. Sidecar my glide so Joe C can ride. Full sack to share. Bringing classic
All right, that's live from the Vatican. Is it weird of me to have this strange American Catholic, former Catholic pride about
We're all very excited.
this guy being an American?
No, I mean, it's pretty, it's quite the novelty. This has never happened,
It's
I
never
take it.
happened.
Right? And also, I wasn't keeping track of the favorites. I don't know how they even decide who's the favorite, but I don't think he was among them, right? His name
No, because
wasn't...
they were expecting it to be either this Italian who'd been in the Vatican for a long time and was the Vatican's like foreign minister basically for the last few years. Like Francis is one of Francis's top lieutenants. And then there was also an African guy who they thought might have a chance, and then a Filipino guy who they thought might have a chance. Just for, like, historically speaking, for one thing, there's only one place on earth, really, where the Catholic Church is growing its membership, and that's the continent of Africa. And then so like you kind of figured maybe there's a chance that we get an African pope. Although it must be said that would represent a rather dramatic shift away from the direction that Francis had been taking the church over the course of the last decade, because the Africans are generally considered to be more conservative than this last pope was, and the fact that the Council of Cardinals was stocked with 80% of people that Francis had made cardinals, you would have thought that they would have gone in a more Francis-like direction than going with an African pope. And then the Filipino guy was also an option. There's never been, or maybe this was going to be like the second ever some sort of Asian-y pope, but the first ever one from that particular part of the world.
You know,
and also there hasn't been an Italian in my entire life, certainly.
Wow.
And so it's been a while since there was an Italian pope after centuries of Italian popes. And so apparently like this pissed off some people there in Italy, especially.
Because they were thinking we're going to get one finally.
Right.
After, what, like 40 years? How long has it been? It couldn't have been that long.
I don't know, but in my living memory, we've had the
John
Polish
Paul
pope.
II?
John Paul II was cool. Pope 1 was Polish, and then Ratzinger or
German,
whatever his
right?
name was German, and then the
South American.
Argentinian, and now an American. What I want most to come out of this event, this development, is for, like the old thing, like, does a bear shit in the woods?
Yes.
Does the Pope wear a funny hat? Right. I want the new thing to be, is the Pope a White Sox fan? Like that should be the sort of question that we ask. Like, what are you, fucking dumbass? Does a bear shit in the woods? Is the Pope a White Sox fan?
Because he is from Chicago, right? And,
from Chicago. He was
yeah.
at the World Series in 2005.
Went to Villanova, I think. So there was a lot of
Twitter
sports takes, like about that sort of thing. It's kind of amusing. But it is interesting. So, like, ideologically, this American Pope is in keeping with Pope Francis?
Yeah, apparently along similar lines to Francis's more liberalizing tendencies. And we'll continue on that path.
Do you think I don't know how many cardinals voted, do you think that they were like, if we choose an African pope or an Asian pope, there might be the DEI pope thing that's going to be permeating in the social media sphere? Do you think that they would concern themselves with that? Like, it's not the right time for that, so let's go.
I think
they would.
there is any institution on earth that is essentially inoculated against claims of being too woke, it is the Catholic Church. So I doubt that played a role. I think more likely is the fact that a turn back to the conservatism that would be represented by going with this particular African who was considered was not the direction that the Vatican wanted to go.
Right.
And presumably they don't think that the future of the Catholic Church's prospects on earth is if they turn back towards a more traditional way of seeing things, and that if they're going to be meaningful in the world over the course of the next couple of centuries, it's going to require continuing along the general direction that secularism is taking the rest of the world. Maybe that's a misreading. Maybe it would be to the Catholic Church's advantage to sort of double down on tradition and their conservative understanding of the world. But that's not the direction they went in. Instead, they went with Bobby Francis out of Chicago.
You mentioned that like Africa is like a growth market for the Catholics. Overall, is the number like going down, or is it stabilized? Like how is the Catholic Church doing as far as with membership?
My understanding is that in the West, it has shrunk here lately. I don't know if overall, like they're not growing as rapidly as they once were, certainly. I think they still claim to have like 1 billion. I think they still claim to have over 1 billion Catholics, or 1.5 billion Catholics or something in the world, which is a pretty good number for one Christian denomination.
Right. I mentioned it in a group chat, but it's remarkable how successful the papacy has been. They've been around since like 2,000 plus years ago. Like, it's weird how they've been...
The first pope was Peter, and it's like basically an unbroken institution since then.
Is there anything that could even rival that? Like, it seems to be, for 2,000 years to have that sort of consistency. And people to this day, they're still showing up, all these heads of state from other places to see...
Not an unimpeachable record. Like, not a great... like, all the way through. Not the best record, but... consistent, certainly, in terms of...
Yeah, that's the thing with when you have rules and traditions. Right. It sets you up for these things.
Right.
My client pointed out who I saw right after I saw that they decided on someone. It was a very quick appointment. And as she was leaving, she was like, "Did you see that they picked a pope?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really exciting." She was like, "Are you Catholic?" And I said, "No, are you?" And she said, "No." And I was like, "Why are we so excited?" And she goes, "I think because it's like news, but it's not horrible. And it's just can be exciting. And that's it."
Yeah.
I think she has a point because the feeling in the salon was just generally, ooh, this is exciting.
It is weird how an institution like CNN and NPR and all of the rest of these big media organizations, like, this can suddenly become the Super Bowl for them.
It felt like that.
Despite the fact that, like...
no one really cares.
Yeah. I mean, a billion Catholics fucking care.
But not the ones watching... Like, they're not watching CNN. Like, most of the people...
Oh, they absolutely... All of the American... Are you kidding me? Of course. If I was so... like this, I was not interested in this in a news event sort of way, because it's a fairly minimal thing in terms of...
Yeah, but it was exciting.
The news. I was interested in it as a... like, my old... parochial interests, for lack of a better word, the Catholicism of the whole thing. I did want to go to a quick clip of the Pope giving, because he comes out and he starts to give he addresses the gathered hordes there and gives a blessing and whatnot. I wanted to play a clip from that real quick.
You never met a motherfucker quite like me.
That was
very nice.
Cool Pope the Third there.
My other client pointed out, Catholic client, said, there's never been an American Pope. One of the reasons is because they've always felt like America doesn't need a Catholic Pope. America is doing just fine. And they don't deserve a Catholic Pope. They don't deserve an American Pope. And now...
It's long been a worry that there's a problem of combining the sort of political power of the United States with the institutional power of the papacy, that somehow...
Apparently not anymore.
The alignment of those two interests would be untoward in some way, that it would be bad. And I think that's largely overblown, because I just don't see the papacy mattering in America very much. Like, it's hard for me to imagine the ways in which that could actually be a problem. But maybe I just lack the imagination for it. I don't know. That's
interesting that the choosing of an American Pope may be a bad indicator for America's standing. I didn't make that connection.
It was not... He wasn't claiming it. He was just saying it out loud. Like, it's...
I will be curious to find out how the Pope is able to marry his previous stances about being because the Pope is a great moral leader, right? Like a dogmatic. This is the fucking Catholic Church, after all. And I'm curious how rising to that new position is going to jive with previous publications that he's put out. You might even call them encyclicals. When a pope lets them out into the world, they're called an encyclical, and I wonder how that will jive with his previous teachings, such as this.
I'm the last of a few, still screaming, fuck you! Ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live.
Because ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live just doesn't jive with the way that the Catholic Church has put itself out there into our lives for the last 2,000 years. All right. Anything else on Cool Pope III? I've already taken to calling him Cool Pope III, because we had Cool Pope I, which was John Paul II, And cool Pope 2 was the recently departed Pope. And now, I mean, this guy's a baseball fan.
He's pretty cool.
American.
He's American, so he's already cool.
Speaks English fluently, in addition to, Italian, and he does his Latin thing and also Spanish.
Would it be unbecoming for a pope to throw the first pitch at a baseball game? Is that like beneath?
Ooh, that's such a good question.
I don't know.
Seems like
It
he
would
has
be
to.
at a Chicago White Sox game. He would have to go to Wrigley Field.
Or could he do it at a not American baseball game, like a Mexican one?
I don't know.
Where do they play baseball? Puerto Rico?
Yeah, all over the place.
He could do it there.
It has not yet inspired me to go back to the Catholic Church. If that was your gambit, the Vatican and the institution of Catholicism, it failed. I will not be taking the kids to church anytime soon.
We're very busy.
All right, Bob, you have to choose one. If this Pope, the Pope, cool Pope number 3 or whatever, if he were to actually bring on Kid Rock to do a song and dance, would that make you more likely or less likely to join the Catholic Church?
Kid Rock is a lot of things. At all Catholic is not one of them.
It's not. It doesn't quite work.
He's definitely, if Kid Rock is coded anything religious, it would be some sort of Protestantism, certainly not Catholicism.
Southern Baptist, do you think? I don't know.
I guess. All right. Also in the news this week is Trump's plan to apparently accept a gift from the government of Qatar, or Qatar. I think it's Qatar is the correct. There's a in there somewhere as well if you insist on it. But I'm just going to go with Qatar. And he's going to accept, apparently, a Boeing 747-8, I think is the designation, which is like, it's the Rolls-Royce of 747s. It's been thoroughly outfitted by a foreign government, specifically the country of Qatar.
The intelligence community must be losing their shit. Like, there's no way. That's not
somewhere between a $300 million and a $400 million aircraft, and Trump is planning on turning it into Air Force One, apparently.
Okay, so it's not to replace his Trump plane, his personal plane. This is because I thought there were already plans in the works to upgrade Air Force One from what we currently have.
In Trump's first term, he came to an agreement with Boeing to produce, I believe, 2 new 747s for top-level presidential use. Of course, it's Air Force One when the president is on it. So there's more than one of these things. But like when he's on that helicopter, it's Marine One, right? When he's on the airplane, it's Air Force One. And the plan is for Boeing to deliver 2 new ones. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. They don't just they don't just grab one of the 747s that's rolling off of the production line and slap some white and blue paint on it and call it Air Force One. They kind of build them piece by piece from the ground up, because these are incredibly sensitive pieces of technology that go into these things. It's not just a plane where they happen to have a presidential bedroom, right? Like they're able to run the entire United States government out of this thing while it circles the air, and it doesn't have to land, right? Because it has the ability, as we all in the important documentary from the mid to late 1990s, when we watched that in movie theaters, Air Force One, they can refuel that in mid-air in dramatic fashion to keep it airborne for as long as possible. And so there's like all sorts of shit that goes into making this plane a special plane. So Boeing, it's taking some time to make that happen. And the original delivery date was 2029, I think. And now, because Trump fucking stamps his feet and whines about shit on Twitter, they had bumped it up to a delivery of 2027 for the new Air Force Ones. But this throws a wrench in that, because apparently now he wants to use this plane as Air Force One for the next 4 years, and then have it delivered to him personally or officially to the Trump Presidential Library, which zero progress has been made in actually building the Trump or even conceiving the Trump Presidential Library. All it is essentially is a slush fund for Donald Trump to, or a piggy bank for Donald Trump for people to donate to and for him to take money out of. But the initial reporting on it was that it would be officially, this is going to be given to the United States Department of Defense or the Air Force in particular. And therefore, it's not a presidential emolument. It's not a violation of the emoluments clause because any gift over like some hysterically small number is considered impermissible to the president, to the point where like when he gets cufflinks or a bottle of wine or some silly hat from the government of some bullshit country, he has to turn it over to the National Archives or pay the market rate for it, whatever that happens to be, in order for it to come into his possession. And so, like, this sort of thing is just completely unacceptable in terms of the normal constitutional order. But he cleared it with Pam Bondi, his attorney general, and other White House lawyers who said because this is going to be donated to the Department of Defense, it doesn't qualify. And then because it will then be given from DOD to the Trump Presidential Library, it's not actually going to be in Trump's possession. And so this is not what it appears to be, which is blatant fucking corruption. Again, initially, it seemed like it was going to become Trump Force One after his presidency. He has said today, no, I'm not gonna use it after the presidency. It's just going to sit at the library site after the presidency, which, if you believe that, I have a $400 million jet to sell you.
Also, he could be telling the truth in that regard, because it's going to take so long for this to, Obama's library hasn't been built yet either, right? Like, it takes a while. So he's thinking, I'm just going to use it while it's being built, and then I'll be dead by the time this whole thing is sorted out, or near death.
He doesn't think he's going to die.
Yeah, but like he will have many years of use. And what's the point of having this $400 million thing that's going to only be used through his presidency? It can't be used by any other president.
Because it's going to, like you're saying about how the national security apparatus can't be too pleased about this. They're going to have to tear it down to the fucking studs and then some, just to make sure that there's nothing in it, right? Like, we can't have an Air Force Trojan horse that the president is flying around in, right? Like, you need to tear it apart, make sure there's no listening devices or surveillance equipment anywhere on there, make sure there's no flaws that have been built into this fucking thing by the people who are giving it to him. Like, it's this crazily appointed piece of flying equipment that they're going to have to tear apart completely and then put back together at the same time that they add in all of the stuff that they need to add into this thing to make it into Air Force One, which is all of the communications and security equipment that goes into it. Like, I don't think this is actually likely to happen, is the thing. Like, he can't just start flying around on it. Like, they will not permit him to do that. And so, like, we're talking about a process that you can't just do in 2 weeks. Right. So, like, the earliest I could imagine this getting done is, like, I don't know, 2027 or so. Right. When Boeing is planning on delivering 2 brand new state-of-the-art Air Force Ones to the Air Force. So, like, I don't know. It seems like such an unnecessary thing for him to do, but, like, also perfectly in keeping with Donald Trump, which is that he couldn't possibly say no to this. Right. As he said today, when asked to explain, what the fuck are you doing, man? You can't take a $500 million plane from the government of Qatar and just start flying around in it. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work. He said, they're giving us a free jet. I could say no.
You could play that Kid Rock clip right after you said, he said.
What? Ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live? No. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us. I want to pay you $1 billion or $400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. He paused. Something had occurred to him. All this preciousness over the plane reminded him of something he had heard once and never forgotten. It was a little thing, really, and he said it almost as an aside, but it told so much about Mr. Trump and the way he sees the world. Quote, there was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear of him? Old Sam Snead had a motto, Trump continued. When they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. Then they putt it, they miss it, and their partner gets angry at them. Remember that. Sam Snead, when they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much. So basically he's referring to the gift of a $400 million Boeing 747 as a gimme, right, as an 18-inch putt, that it would be an insult if your golfing opponent asked you to put in the hole. And instead of saying, no, go ahead. I know that you're good for it. You can pick that ball up. And you'd be a moron to attempt that putt. The other reason that I don't think that I can see this happening is because it opens the door in a profoundly obvious way to the next Trump impeachment. There's no chance that this isn't something that the Democrats will seize upon if and when they take over the House of Representatives in the next congressional cycle, right?
Right.
And so there's how can the Republicans and the people around him allow him to do this, setting aside all of the security concerns and the logistics of it? It's too obvious a thing. You've got Pam Bondi, his attorney general, insisting that this is fine. This is someone who used to get paid $100,000 a month to lobby for the Qataris. There are weird deals that the Trump family organization is doing, building golf courses in Qatar. There are the fact that his meme coin and cryptocurrency has investments in huge numbers from people in Qatar and other points in the Middle East. It's just the most blatant buying of presidential favor that you can possibly imagine, and clearly an impeachable act if he were to take this gift.
Right. This is a recurring theme with Trump, especially in the second term, where he is not worried about the political impact for whatever he does. He's almost inviting it, because this is kind of unnecessary, despite his comparison to Snead's motto. They're already giving you a plan in a couple of years anyways, right? By the time they, to your point, Bob, by the time the national security apparatus kind of gives a go-ahead, make sure that there's no bugs or anything, it will take some time, and maybe that'll bleed into 26 or 27 anyway. So this is not a need that Qatar is filling. This is just a bad visual. It just looks bad that this country is trying to bribe in broad daylight a sitting president, and the sitting president just says, I don't care, give it to me, I'm going to take it. It's just going to be a bad thing for the members of Congress, for the Republicans, but Trump, again, does not seem to care about it. And not only that, he is going out of his way to kind of assert his stature. I am so untouchable on my side. I can do whatever, and they can't say anything. There's not going to be any sort of breaking ranks, right? I didn't see this Sunday's panels.
Well, Laura Loomer, Trump luminary, and apparently someone with great influence inside the Trump White House, at least in terms of who should and should not be part of the advisory of the cabinet to the president, and a fucking psychopath in her own right, said, I'd fucking take a bullet for Donald Trump, but this is a bad look to take a 747 from Qatar. Don't do that, Mr. President. And so there's been some mild pushback from some folks.
Right.
But in terms of is it enough to convince 8 or 9? Let's assume that the Senate also goes into Democratic control in the next election cycle here in the midterms. Is it enough to convince 8 or 9 Republicans to vote with 50 or 51 Democrats to convict on an impeachment that presumably the House could get through if they wanted to. I kind of doubt it, but it's not something that they want to have to defend because it is so blatant and completely unacceptable. Like, again, like you cannot even take if the president of France shows up with a bottle of wine as a gift to the president, he can't have it. Right? Like, it's against the law in the Constitution for him to drink that bottle of wine without paying for it. I'm sure that there was, maybe you can remind me, surely there was a West Wing episode
to be a West Wing episode
that involved some trivial gift to the president that he sort of like accidentally gets in trouble for or almost gets in trouble for.
Yeah.
But I don't remember there being one.
I believe there was
one. But that
one.
feels like a very Sorkin-y sort of plot line to have. But like, this is so far, it's almost like you cannot imagine a bigger and more pointed example of it, right? Like from something that is so trivial and small that like you have to turn over or else you could be in trouble to, oh no, let's just give him a fucking Boeing 747 and nobody's going to fucking care. I don't know. Seems bad. Let's see. Anything else in the news this week worth mentioning? The stock market had a bit of a bounce back day today on news that China and the United States, during meetings, I believe, in Zurich, came to some sort of an agreement about lowering the temperature on this trade war that was going on that was effectively a trade embargo against China because we had 145% tariffs against Chinese imports, and apparently there's all this news footage of the port in L.A. where it's like, and they're talking to truck drivers, and they're like, normally I'd be backed up for 3 days here trying to get my load. And today there's like no traffic whatsoever. It's smooth sailing because the vessels are like half empty and there's nothing in half of the shipping containers. And so Scott Bessent out there in Zurich dealing with the Chinese, saying that they've come to some sort of an agreement to lower tariffs down to, I forget what the number is, but it is some much smaller number than 145%, but it's still significantly higher than the 10%. That seems to be the new floor for all goods coming into this country from even our closest allies and friendly countries. And the economy, or the stock market anyway, gets to have this big bounce back kind of day as a result. And it's very funny to me to see the Trump administration trying to paint this as some sort of grand victory for Trump and the American people when the tariffs achieved none of what it is that they're trying to achieve, which no matter how you try to slice it, whether that's to reshape the entire global trading economy, that didn't happen and isn't going to happen. Whether it's to reshore American manufacturing, well, if that was the goal, that's not going to happen if we're going to stop as soon as China comes to the table, right? Like, and granted, maybe you can say, look, the Chinese made some concessions here on some important things that Americans care about. That's all well and good. That wasn't the stated purpose of any of this shit, right? Like, it wasn't, let's try to make things marginally better. This was an attempt at reshaping the global economy, and it failed because it's a largely impossible task. And it's like, well, I've been tripping over my own dick for the last 6 weeks, and today I rolled my dick back up into my pants, and I'm no longer tripping over my own dick. And you want me to pat you on the back for that and say what a great job you've done here, not tripping over your own dick and balls? I guess, but I don't see what the appeal is here.
Now, this is another set of 90 days, right? I mean, there was the initial 90 days for like just about every country except for China, and then now there's this 90 days with China. There's this dangling threat of tariffs, right? That the people that are purchasing,
but they won't reimpose them. They'll be very quiet upon the next 90-day window that pops up. Right,
but you won't have that confidence until the 90 days has passed, right? So for 90 days, there will be this potential, the specter of tariffs suddenly being imposed again, right? So now, if you're buying things out there in the marketplace, like, are you like stocking up now, and then to try to survive the fall? Like, you have to do some long-term planning, and so I wonder how this is going to impact how people behave, like to where it's going to maybe produce more because people are like stocking up, or if it's just going to be like, let's do with less, and the economy kind of slows down.
Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine that this will cause. I mean, at the very least, it's just more uncertainty, right?
Right.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else in the news that I want to talk about, and I don't think that there is. I do want to play America's favorite game show. It's now time for America's favorite game show. Did Mark Strassman, CBS News' senior national correspondent, get off a good one?
And especially Senator Ted Cruz. He left with his family for tropical Mexico and was whacked like a piñata.
Strassman gets off a good one. Unfortunately, nothing new, once again, from Mark Strassman. However, we may have somebody that we can rely on to attempt to get off good ones. And he works for the CBS Evening News on the weekends when Strassman seems to not work as much. But here's a headline honoring America's best sanitation workers at the Oscars of garbage.
Finally tonight, sanitation workers from across the country converged on Las Vegas last week for what's been called the Oscars of garbage, and it's exactly what it sounds like. In tonight's Weekend Journal, CBS's Itai Had took a ride with one of this year's nominees.
Most people don't even notice their garbage man. They hear the truck, rush out the bin, go back inside. But if you're lucky enough to live on Dave Barbagelato's route, you're witnessing a master at work.
Picking up garbage, help keeping San Francisco clean. Can't ask for more than that.
Before you've even opened your email, Dave has already deleted your trash. On a busy day, he can clear up to 1,400 bins. And while it may look repetitive, there's an art to it.
Go like that. Yeah, slowly.
One that can take a while to nail down. He's worked for Recology, a San Francisco-based waste company, for the last 37 years.
It's not everybody's dream or ambition to grow up and be a garbage man. I enjoy what I do.
You could say garbage is in his blood. His grandfather started in 1925. Dad followed. Now it's Dave's turn behind the wheel. During all that time, he's dodged delivery vans and tight alleyways, all without a single fender bender. And this year, someone finally noticed. Dave was nominated in the Best Driver category at what's known as the Oscars of Garbage.
Good evening. Welcome to the 2025 National Waste and Recycling Association Annual Awards Gala.
It is exactly like an Oscar. They're announced, they walk up a red carpet.
Michael E. Hoffman is the president of the National Waste and Recycling Association, which started handing out these awards 65 years ago.
We show up every day. We're on our streets and our highways and our towns and our cities more than anybody.
After nearly 4 decades in the garbage industry, Dave Barbagelato won an honorable mention trophy.
I couldn't believe I was one of the guys that were chosen.
Finally collecting something that is not trash. Itai Had, CBS News, San Francisco.
Before I ask you the important question here.
Yes.
He won an honorable mention trophy at the Oscars of garbage. And the insistence is that that is not trash.
What's the point of having somebody come over just to be an honorable mention? I mean,
yeah, you're happy just to be nominated,
right.
Certainly.
But isn't that the honorable mention?
Don't patronize me
What?
by giving me the honorable mention. Second question here before I ask the all-important question. Is this guy who leads the Oscars of Garbage, the National Waste and Recycling Association, he's clearly just awarding his much bigger brother with an award here, right? These two gentlemen look basically identical except for the size. That's the same person, just one is slightly larger than the other. Also, I love...
Who's the normal-sized person in that photo?
I love when they get...
for podcasts, but, like, which of those people is normal-sized?
I think our man here who runs the Oscars of Garbage is slightly small. But Look at the B-roll that they have of this guy walking down the hall and tell me that this is how he naturally walks down the hall every day.
Well, he's holding a cup of coffee.
That is not how this person
He's trying
moves
not
through
to
life.
spill.
And also, it's one of those where, like, to me, it's obvious that they started him from a standing position already in the hallway rather than having him come around the corner. Like, what is he? Okay, now go. And he's like, okay, I'm going. And I'm smiling. I'm big and I'm happy. I think the guy in the middle is particularly large. I think that's what's going on here.
Yeah. By the way, you know, if you're the Oscars, you're thinking, can you please not, like, associate us with you? Like, come on. Just call it whatever. The garbage man of the year. Or person.
Yeah.
The Emmys of garbage.
Why not go with that, too?
All right, Abe. Did Itai Todd, or Hod, or whatever this dude's name is, who I've gone to 2 weeks in a row now, I believe, get off a good one in the fashion of CBS News' senior national news correspondent, Mark Strassman?
Yes.
Strassman gets off a good one.
But just barely. He had just one good one, like garbage is in his blood, and he's talking about how his grandpappy was a garbage man or something.
Does he have garbage in his blood? Is fucking weird Third Reich stuff out of Itai Hod.
He comes from garbage stock. You can kind of
blood and soil from the CBS Evening News weekends. Interesting choices all around there by the editors at CBS News and by the writer of that segment. Real quick, the NBA draft lottery was this evening, and as it turns out, the Dallas Mavericks have earned or received the number one pick after, I believe they still do the ping pong ball method, right?
It's the only thing you can trust.
So they fill.
So they don't do it like whoever finishes last gets the first pick?
No.
It's just random?
No, because that incentivizes very poor play for the last third of the season.
Yeah, they don't want to reward you for poor play because like teams
there
would just
were
tank.
Complaints
literally.
about tanking, right?
The NFL still does
better
worst
sport.
record, right? And that hasn't there hasn't been a need to change that.
Well, because it just like usually, like you get down to the last couple weeks of the season, and it's like, well, are we playing our starters? Are we going to let? And you can sort of justify it in the NFL a little bit more, and it's like because there's usually only going to be like 1 or 2 games that actually have any bearing on the outcome there by the time you get down to the end. But like there can be weeks of tanking that go on in the NBA.
Yeah.
So they want to avoid that. They had a 1.8 or 9% chance, I believe, of getting the number one pick. And so, of course, as soon as it was announced that the Dallas Mavericks would be receiving the number one pick, all of the social media were a Twitter with insistence that this whole thing was rigged and that this is the piece of the puzzle that explains why the trade was made to move Luka Doncic out to the Los Angeles Lakers earlier this year, that Dallas moved him to L.A., and in exchange, Adam Silver and the puppet masters there at the NBA head offices gave them the number one overall pick so that they could presumably select Cooper Flagg in the upcoming NBA draft.
Right. I mean, I don't believe in this conspiracy theory, but 1.8% is not 0%. I understand
it's not 0%. It's
real close.
Literally, it's 1 out of every 50 times that you do this, you're going to end up with the Dallas Mavericks being the ping pong ball that comes out. We just have a very poor understanding of low probability events happening, right? Like, because something is incredibly unlikely to happen does not mean that it isn't going to happen. It just means that other outcomes are technically more likely to happen. But like this insistence that the whole thing must be rigged, and it's not a joke, right?
No. Because people have accused the NBA of doing similar things in the past with like helping out teams like the Lakers because it's like a very big market for the NBA. They have the whole long history. Like they get benefits that other places don't get. And so people are, I mean, it was just the timing was poor because, like, you have this very hard to explain trade, and then months later, that team gets the Cooper Flag pick. It just, the timing is unfortunate, but I don't subscribe to this conspiracy theory.
Why have the Knicks been so fucking bad for a generation
Yes, exactly.
if the entire NBA is rigged? Why were the Celtics, besides that one Kevin Garnett championship, like it is good for the league when the Celtics are a good basketball team, right?
Right.
It's good when the Knicks are a good basketball team. Like, why is the West Coast, why is the Western Conference been so thoroughly dominant since the end of essentially the Michael Jordan era?
Right.
If the whole thing is fucking rigged, none of it makes any fucking sense.
If this were rigged, like, LeBron would have a lot more titles, right? Because, like, you know, the commission, like, oh, this guy, you know, the people watch when he's playing, and, like, they would win even more. I just think it's just ridiculous, but, you know, people like those kind of things. Like, oh, nothing is a coincidence, like that type of thing.
Right. And there was, like talk of collusion and rigging it here in this, and there was talk of collusion and rigging it in the NFL draft as regarding Shedeur Sanders. The Biffler covered this theory extensively in the most recent episode. And, like, I just don't know where that gets you as a person to believe that everything, like, and what a sucker you are to continue, like, if your worldview is correct, that the NBA is rigged and the NFL is rigged, and that all of these things, all of the institutions are so thoroughly corrupt as to be masterminded by puppet masters from above. Like, you're the primary consumer of these things, right? You are a power user of the product. Right. And what a fucking dumbass you must be to continue to pay attention to it if you believe the whole thing is fucking rigged.
I think that they don't look at it from that perspective. It's that look how smart I am for sussing it out, where all these other rubes are just going along because they don't have the mind that I do. So they're the fact that they're getting swindled.
So are you still enjoying this product that is being rigged?
Right. But that's the weird thing.
Against your interests or against the competitive, the free competitive interests of the league? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Like, why is it better that you see behind the curtain if you continue to watch the product on the stage, right?
Right.
Like, how is that?
Right. That is one of the many unusual and hard to explain blind spots people who subscribe to this way of thinking have. Like, where they're not considering that. Because, like, if you thought about it one step beyond the conclusion you've reached, it undermines the conclusion you reach, right? But for whatever reason, and unless somebody points it out, like, they don't think of it that way. So it must be some sort of blind spot where you're, like, so satisfied. Maybe it's just, yeah, I figured it out, that you know, unfurl the mission accomplished flag and you're done. You're not thinking anymore. You're done thinking.
The overwhelming feeling that I get from my minimal interaction with bureaucracies and organizations and institutions is that the notion that anyone is in charge is deeply overrated in people's minds. Like, mostly things function on inertia, and they don't function because of inertia. And, like, mostly no one's in charge, right? And if you're lucky, you get a hold of some functionary within the machine who can help you navigate the various Byzantine rules and barriers that are thrown up to stop things from actually ever working. But it's not some command control puppet master scenario from above. It's almost entirely barely working simply because of the fact that it's always been there. And it continues to work, like, and it is sort of a miracle that things continue to work despite the lack of command control. And the reason that and maybe this probably speaks to my own biases about the ability of human beings to control and manipulate the world around them on an individual level. But, like, my suspicion is that the more command and control that an individual or a group of individuals have at the top of some mega power structure, the more likely it is that it will fail in spectacular ways. Not the more likely it is that it will continue to propagate itself over time. The Catholic Church is maybe a counterexample, except that the thing that has made it work is the extent to which it is spread out all over the fucking place, and that Rome does what Rome does, and mostly the church succeeds because of what's going on in local parishes and less to do with any sort of command control from the top. Anyway.
If we're going to do music, we need to do it.
We're moving along here. Abe, real quick, though, before I go into the wrap-up.
Yeah.
You said the Celtics were 100% going to repeat as champions of the National Basketball Association. They went down at home 2-0 to the New York Knickerbockers. They've since come back. I think they're in Game 4 tonight in a game that they trail after 3 quarters, 88-85. What's going to happen there?
So the 100% is still intact. Nothing has changed. Maybe they were so bored, these Celtics, with the inevitable conclusion to this NBA playoffs, which is going to have them win a second title. So they're like, let's just give New York a little hope, because the Knicks haven't won anything since forever. I don't know how many popes ago it was, but it's been quite a few. And so just give them a bone, throw them a bone, and then we'll just slowly crawl back and win. Even if they can go down 3-1 just to humor them, like, oh, we're 1 win away from advancing, and then slowly they lose the next 3 games. Not worried at all about these Celtics.
Are you prepared to wager on
your lack of work? As you recall, I have long since retired from this gambling.
You've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob and Abe. Find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us, including, and perhaps not limited to, the Billboard Hot 100 game, where we will discuss some song or another and some other older song or another. Not sure yet which ones. Tune in to find out, brainiron.substack.com. Also, the opening and closing themes of our show were composed by Mark Gillig. Tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com. For more from Mark. Abe, you were traveling. Did you, however, also make it to the movies this week?
I did not. Rare off weekend. There wasn't really much to watch, even if I was able to watch a movie. I mean, all the driving precluded me from going this weekend. But I think the only movie that I saw that's coming out, I already watched in an advanced preview, Shadow Force, Kerry Washington's.
Oh yeah, Shadow Force made its official wide debut.
About. So basically, by the way, the whatever is lifted now. You can go back and listen to my review of the movie, which was likely it was all right. It wasn't too bad, but did not watch anything else.
It's not incumbent upon the listener to not hear you break the embargo. You did the bad thing.
No, I told them to just not listen until May 8th. We're past it now. You're in the clear.
Overwhelmingly, the public obliged you and did not listen.
I don't think it did anything at the box office.
Any TV to report?
No, nothing. No TV, no nothing.
Just live, just Abe out in the real world.
That's right.
This week.
Just out and about.
Let's see. What am I consuming?
All we watched was Taskmaster.
We watched the first 2 episodes of the latest season of Taskmaster, which is available on YouTube in its entirety. I don't know how anybody makes any money these days. This is a BBC show or some sort of British television product, and they just put the full episodes on YouTube, and we just go watch them, which is cool. But it's a weird method for.
Yeah, you're right.
Money.
It is clear. It's not clear how. I mean, there's the ad revenue, but beyond that.
Man, I mean, it's like they stick full episodes of that John Oliver Tonight Show up on on HBO's YouTube page, like 36 hours later or something. And it can't be good for HBO subscription revenue, you wouldn't think, but I guess they've determined it doesn't make a difference. I'm listening to a book on Audible because I was tired of the news this week, so I didn't listen to too many of my podcasts. It's called Red Rising. It's a big, long sci-fi series. It was recommended by one of the baseball moms that I know, and it's fine so far. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. A little bit more young adult coded than I tend to prefer, but perfectly enjoyable so far. And then what else? Did we watch anything else?
No, we watched Taskmaster and Your Friends on YouTube.
All right. Watching some gambling videos, of course, as well. A headline that I did not click on this week, Abe, but I did send to you in screenshot fashion. She was named most beautiful girl in the world at age 6. Here's what she looks like at 24. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, first of all, why are we naming 6-year-old children
Yes.
as the most beautiful girl in the world some 18 years ago? Also, why would I want to find out
Right.
how things have gone since then? Like, in what part of my brain would want to know? Like let's say that she's a smoke show now, right? Like, she's super fucking hot. And again, must be clear, I did not click on this story. I just screenshotted it and then sent it to my friend. And the only photo in the screenshot is of this child as a 6-year-old, right? But if she aged in such a way as to, at age 24, she is traditionally or acceptably beautiful, right? I find her physically attractive. What does this article want me to conclude about the 6-year-old in retrospect, right? Like, do they want credit?
Like we got it right?
Fucking
Yeah, we knew.
called it. Like, if you want to know who's going to be hot in their 20s, come see us, and we'll tell you which 6-year-olds are going to be hot later. Or if she's ugly now, like, that's just mean, right? Like, if they found this chick's Instagram, I don't know. There's something very, very weird about the entire thing for me. And I have to ask, Abe, did you investigate further and find out if she's hot now?
My one thought was, like, who is making these judgments? Like, is there like a panel that's grading 6-year-olds?
I think it was a British tabloid thing. I remember it.
Okay, so this was an actual tabloid that was surveying the landscape of 6-year-olds.
No,
and like, this
it was
one.
just like a picture. If my memory serves, which I don't know, it was like a National Geographic photo or something. Like some photo of this girl that some tabloid was like, this is the most beautiful girl.
Right.
All right. Well, Lori, obviously,
I don't want to talk about this.
We got to do music. I did want to go one last time back to the Vatican. I understand an important encyclical has just been released from Cool Pope III. You know, if Cool Pope III keeps releasing all of these statements and encyclicals, we're going to keep getting kicked off of Spotify. And you know what? It's going to be fucking worth it. I don't care. Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
Well, I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then. And we will talk to you next time.
Later. This now guarantees that we're going to land on a Kid Rock song for the Billboard game.
I certainly hope so.
I did watch, while I was baking all the cake pops, the Woodstock 99 documentary again.
Oh, yeah?
That's the one without water?
The one without water.
I thought about just using a bunch of different Chicago bands to represent the Pope. But for some reason, I'm stuck on the American Pope is Kid Rock.
It's because of what I said.
No, it's what I said. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but he covers that song.
No, does he?
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, that's what you were thinking. You just didn't realize you were thinking it.
I don't think I was thinking that at all. All right, let's do a button.
It's a good thing you have restraint, Bob. Like, you'd be commenting, making some...
Oh, how much restraint do I have? I have to fucking tell you about it. I cannot stop myself from doing that.
It goes in, I go into the void.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.